Audrey. It's Io here from Noodle Nook, and I got your email and wanted to make a quick reply for you with some visuals to help you out. It sounds like you are for the first time having a student with autism in your classroom and really concerned about how, in a general ed environment, to help this student to be most successful. And I wanted to let you know that it might seem really challenging, but with a couple of tricks, you probably could make it very doable and not feel so overwhelmed like your email suggested. So I just wanted to show you a couple things real quick. First of all was just some simple graphic organizers. Now I know if you're teaching in general ed, you probably have a ton of graphic organizers already in your classroom, but I just wanted to show you really quick with a simple who, what, where, when, why, right? These are graphic organizers that really support students in their learning across a lot of different grade levels, and I think you're in 4th grade. But when we do a graphic organizer like this and you've got a student like who you're talking to who has a really hard time making choices and conveying their learning, something like this has to be modified for them to be able to access it. So my biggest trick is a pack of Post-its. I've got a Post-it here, and if I were reading a story and asking a student to go ahead and make a choice, I might give them the word or target idea that we're working on and ask them where they would put it inside of the graphic organizer. So is teacher a who or a what? And you might get that to your students so that they can go ahead and participate in this activity with a little bit of modifications, right? So our teacher's going to be our who. What about an apple? Is an apple a who or a what? And so we might go ahead and do that. So this way we can manipulate the information. Now granted, these words maybe are a little remedial for what you're doing, but for whatever story you're reading or actively using as part of your English curriculum, just go ahead and grab a couple of Post-it notes and put some of the key words or ideas on a Post-it and offer that to go ahead and organize within a graphic organizer. That graphic organizer that I just showed you was part of the universal ones that are available in the store, but any graphic organizer will work. You're just going to modify it by grabbing some Post-its. The other thing that you can do with these Post-its is offer the student some choice. So my guess is right now you're doing a lot of oral administration of comprehension questions, and that's pretty typical in a general ed environment, but with a student who doesn't communicate traditionally, that's probably not working for you. So my suggestion is to grab 2 Post-its, and no matter what you put on here, just offer some binary choice. So who is the story about? Is it about a teacher or about an apple? We're just giving that choice. In the beginning, the student might not acknowledge the question or give the correct answer. You're still going to present it in a binary fashion. You might present it again in a binary fashion. You might have to recap and say, well, I remember reading about a teacher, but I don't remember reading about an apple. Who's the story about? Just to kind of limit the choices before you say, so who is the story about, and just offer a single choice. Hopefully the student is going to be able to build their skill and stamina and start to get 3 choices as to which one they choose so that you can give them a little bit more options of showing comprehension. But to be honest, something like this is going to be really handy, and it's nothing fancy, just Sharpie and Post-its. The last couple things I wanted to show you aren't really related to teaching the curriculum per se, but really support what you're trying to do in the classroom. And one is just some kind of token economy or first then, something visual that lets a student know what they're working for so that we can keep them motivated and working through our work cycles. This one's pretty simple. It just has some choices on the back for what you can choose for a student to be working for. In this case, we could have a student who's working for some time with a puzzle. We go ahead and grab that off the back, and the student can choose which thing they're working for. We grab that off the back, we put it on what they're working for, and they earn these tokens based on answering the correct question, or, Iron Man is crooked, or sitting down appropriately in their seat, or maybe keeping hands and feet to self. So whatever rules you want to outline and kind of give those out as the student is being successful so they can earn that time, they can earn that reward. So having a visual like this in place is probably going to really support you in your classroom. And then the last thing is that I hope you will please work on a communication system with your student. A lot of times we see that behaviors spike because the student doesn't have a formal way to communicate, and you're working with some students who are pretty young now, but this just compounds over time. And we see a lot of students in secondary and post-secondary that really struggle with their behavior. It's really stemming from not being able to communicate. So having just some kind of basic core board or communication system so that as you are asking the student questions, they have some way to participate and to communicate. And then when you're working with a student, to really start with some basics, maybe icons like yes or no, or maybe you'll work with something like asking for help, or just telling the person that they're working with that they're finished. Something just to communicate so that you start to see that behaviors are not spiking because a student doesn't have a formal way to talk. So those are just a couple ideas, a way to modify your curriculum really quick with some Post-its, a token economy or some kind of behavior tool so that a student can really cycle through their day, and then finally a communication system that is just so important for any kid, but especially students who are nonverbal and those with autism. So some ideas for you. I hope that works out. Let me know how it's going, and good luck.